Folks, welcome into SportsBookReview.com. I am Donnie RightSide along with Kyle Purviance. We are the NFL team at SportsBookReview.com. Sorry for the technical difficulties out there. Hopefully everybody will be able to find their way into this link so we can have some fun on a Thursday show. But we're going to get right after it today. But before we do that, as always, we've got some business to take care of here. Kyle, why is that? $50,000 up for grabs in our SBR Pick 6 contest. $1,600 per week. And yes, I am beating Kyle with a 3-3 record. Not a great record. Right at 500 to see if I can cruise for this National Football League season. But welcome to the show, Kyle. Let's get after it today.
Hey, you know, I might be losing in the pick six, but you know what I won't do, Donnie? I won't wave my white flag, no. I'm here to fight. That's right. See, now everything that Donnie does, I must do now to get my blue check mark. We're doing it here. I'm excited for football.
True.
Obviously, thank you to everyone finding the new link, getting over here. You know, sometimes the universe unfolds that way, and so we're a little short on time, so I'll stop babbling, and we'll get after it.
Yeah, but Kyle will go down with this ship. So, yeah, wave that white flag out there, people. Kyle's going down. He's going down this year. But let's have some fun today. Get right into it. Thank you guys for joining us here. 88,900 subscribers on our YouTube channel. Awesome stuff. We are headed towards 90,000. If you haven't hit that subscribe button, please do so and turn the notification bells on, because no matter what link you get, you're going to get that notification. Say, I found the NFL show, Thursday Night Football, live in D.C. tonight. You know who's playing? Those Giants and the Washington football team. Now, as we set the lines and we're saying, what's going to take place in this one, Kyle? This morning, we had soft 3.5s, like -3.5 plus 100. We now have -3.5 with about -115. So the money pouring in, and even, Kyle, some lines as high as 4, depending where you're shopping at tonight. And I, as I like to say, agree with that line movement.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I still think it takes this game makes me nervous, right? So you've got some trends. I'm not like the biggest trend guy, but Daniel Jones has never won a game in primetime. They're on the road on a short week, Thursday Night Football. They've got injuries on the offensive line. Who knows what we're going to get out of Saquon Barkley if he even plays. And then you got Washington, obviously, going with their backup quarterback, Taylor Heineke, after the injury to Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I think this game's really tough. I'm going with the home team here. I do like Washington. It's starting to get a little scary, right? Like, there's certainly a universe where these are two solid defenses, not great offenses. There's certainly a world where this is a close, 17-14, 20-17 type of game. You're not really getting a break with the total, right? That opened at 43.5. Now it's all the way down to 40.5. So you need a low-scoring game if you're going to take that total. I think this game's really, really tough to cap. I think it's a tough one to bet on with a ton of confidence. I do, right now, as we sit, I need Washington to win because of my bet with Jason Radowitz, obviously. But I'm leaning Washington here. I do think they get it done. I just think that defense is too tough, and you can always count on Daniel Jones to commit that dumb turnover that costs his team some points. But it's tough, and I don't blame people for passing on this one. There's a few props I like. It's going to be a tough, slow game. It's week 2. Expect good defense. I'm leaning Washington and leaning the under, but it makes me nervous.
No, it does make you nervous because it is a divisional game. You don't have Ryan Fitzpatrick going with Heineke, who threw for over 300 yards in his playoff game last year against the Tampa Bay Bucks. He's got some wheels. He's athletic. Will be able to move the pocket. I think Washington will be just fine. The crux of the argument comes down to, Kyle, where it's a very simple handicap for me, right? How much are we going to get out of Saquon Barkley tonight? I don't know. Not much. We've got 10 carries, 26 yards opening day. Now, you're going to play a game from Sunday, 4 days later on Thursday, worried about his knee. And also keep in mind, we're going to talk prop bets in a little bit. He was 49.5 last night as his rushing prop. He's now sitting at 39.5. So it's dropping, which usually leads you to believe somebody knows something about Saquon Barkley tonight, because that's not Kyle dropping from 125 to 120. Ooh, somebody's getting a sharp price. That is a massive drop without not a lot of yards already dealing with from 49 down to 39. But you look at the offensive line here from the New York Giants. I don't like it. You know what I do like? The Washington football team defensive line in front 7. They will get organic pressure on Daniel Jones. Also, we'll take a look at some props in a little bit, which may lead to some scramble plays by these two quarterbacks. But, Kyle, if I'm looking just at the game, win it in the trenches are better on Washington's side than they are the New York Giants. Also, a road game on a Thursday night, always tough in the NFL. But we can't just say I got 3 early in the week at -120, which some people probably did get. It's 3.5 today. I still trust that the Washington football team is the better team tonight, somewhere in that range, 23-17, 24-20. I think they can cover that 3.5 tonight. But if there is the ability before game time to maybe get that 3 at some juice, I do recommend doing that since it is a low-scoring game, Kyle. We're not talking about 60 as a total, like, oh, they're going to score up and down the field. Points might be at a premium tonight, but to me, Kyle, Washington football team for me or nothing.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. And this might be a spot. Look, it's weird. You don't typically take, 3.5s and 4s and say you need to tease them down, but this is a perfect teaser spot. I like Washington as well. You're 100% right. They are exponentially better in the trenches. That Giants offensive line was already struggling. Now they're going to be without one of their top guards tonight. It just doesn't, I feel like Daniel Jones is going to be running for his life. Washington knows you cannot start the season, a team with NFC West divisional hopes, NFC East divisional hopes. You can't start the season 0-2 at home. You just simply can't do it, especially your second loss coming to a division rival on a short week. I expect Daniel Jones to turn it over. I don't mind that prop. Anytime turnover for Daniel Jones. He does it nearly every single game. I just don't know. Daniel Jones is going to have to drop back and hit those talented receivers who didn't look bad. Look, Shepard looked good. Kenny Golladay looked good. Even Slayton had a few balls. Again, they'll be without Evan Ingram again tonight, so it's going to be Kyle Rudolph at tight end, so you lose a lot of big play upside there with Kyle Rudolph. And look, I agree with that line movement on Saquon Barkley. I don't expect much. And look, I saw Pro Football Focus trying to, pump him up, saying start him in fantasy football. I wouldn't start him if my life depended on it. I have literally zero exposure to him in DFS. So this might be good news for you Saquon Barkley owners, because generally when I bash a player like this, they tend to go off. But I don't think we're going to see much out of Saquon. That running game is going to really struggle. Daniel Jones is going to have to throw you to victory here, and that's never a recipe for success on the road in a short week. I'm with you. I like Washington here, and I don't blame people for having to tease this down and get it at 2.5 or 3 and pay the juice. I think it's a smart move.
Tease what? To 2.5?
Tease Washington minus 2.5 over instead of the 3.5 or the 4. Just tease it down a point or two.
Wait, hold on. So Washington's favored by 3. Let's just say you would tease Washington to +3.
No, I would just get that half a point. Just I think if Washington wins,
by the point you mean? I
thought
just would be 6-point swing.
Right. You get what I mean. Buy the point, tease the point.
Yeah,
however, whatever.
Guard there for a second. Like,
My bad here. I'm reading the chat box too, realizing my pitcher got scratched in the Astros game. So just the whole universe is up in smoke today. But look, there's certainly a world where this is a close slugfest 3-point game. So I don't mind people buying the points there, getting it to 2.5. I know you got to pay the juice for it. But I feel a whole lot safer about 2.5 than I do 3.5, because it's just hard. It's also hard to say, okay, Washington backup quarterback, are they going to win by a touchdown? And that's basically what you're looking for when you start taking these 3.5s and 4s. So it's a little nerve wracking. I still like Washington, but I'm a whole lot nervous now that these half points and full points are being added to it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens tonight. Also, Cassius in the chat box. Donnie, what do you think about Shepard over 72 yards? Well, I hope he gets over 72, but here on the FanDuel Sportsbook, he only needs 57.5 yards to cover his number. And also, this morning, it was lower than that because I had them all listed here. It was 54.5, so that number is on the move as well. So I think we can agree Washington football team is probably going to win this game, or at least I think they're going to win. Also, if you take a look at on Caesars, there is a bet, the Super Boost, only $25, but you get them at just to win the game at +100. So not a bad option. No points, +100 to win the game. I think that is certainly a decent look here. But let's go over some prop bets in the game that we think are advantageous here. I got a couple I'm looking at. Daniel Jones over 20.5 rushing yards, which was this morning on the FanDuel Sportsbook. I think he is going to be able to scramble, get out of the pocket. Why? Because when you get pressure, you're not standing back there for 7 seconds looking for a receiver. Like, oh my goodness, let me get out of here and make some plays with my feet. I think Daniel Jones can get over that rushing prop. Also, Sterling Shepard, as we just talked about in the chat box, over 54.5 was the number this morning. I think he's the best of the wide receivers for the Giants. Why? Because I think he's the steadiest. I'm not going to be surprised, or I would be surprised if it's one catch for 13 yards for him. He's going to be open. Daniel Jones should be able to target him just like he did in week 1. And also, rushing and receiving combined prop. J.D. McKissick over 30.5 yards. If I think Antonio Gibson is a little bit banged up, maybe McKissick gets a little bit more play in this football game. So that's where I'm going to go with my prop bets. I do like the Washington football team in the game, and I do lean towards the under here as well, Kyle. Any props that have your attention here?
Yeah, there's three of them for me. And again, I don't think it's a real high scoring game. So it's hard to start jumping all over receiving props and over props because I'm just not sure that there's going to be a lot of points. But I agree with you. Daniel Jones, I took him over 23.5 at minus 130. Look, he hit that number last week at 27. We don't know what we're going to get out of Barkley. You're not going to have a lot of success running on this Washington front seven with that offensive line. He's going to be throwing the ball more than probably Joe Judge wants him to be throwing. And with that pass rush, you know he's going to be running for his life a little bit. I expect him to scramble out and hit that 23.5 yards. And in that same vein, I'm going to take the under 39.5 for Saquon Barkley. I just don't think he does much of anything tonight. I don't. It's so low for a guy like Barkley. But there's so many question marks if he even plays the game tonight. And he's talked all week about how concerned he is about his knee and the schedule. Not a good look for Saquon. I don't think he does much tonight. You probably see more Devontae Booker than you would hope if you're a Giants fan. I'm going to take that under 39.5 yards. I don't typically take under rushing yards. I did it last week with Zeke Elliott against Tampa Bay. Paid off beautifully. See a similar type of situation tonight. The Giants are going to have to throw the ball quite a bit. And then one more prop on the Washington side. So the Giants have two outstanding perimeter corners in Adoree Jackson and James Bradbury. But in the slot, they have Darnay Holmes. Darnay Holmes was targeted and gave up a reception on 33% of his defensive routes played last week in the slot. Adam Humphries played about 65% of the snaps last week. He played 42% of them in the slot. I think he gets over 2.5 catches tonight, gets to 3. He only had 2 in week 1 against a better Charger slot corner anyways, and he's going to face tonight. They're going to be forced to get the ball over the middle of the field. I think Adam Humphries gets to 3 catches tonight at minus 130.
All right, let's keep moving down the list here. Let's get to some Sunday early NFL action. New Orleans and Carolina, 269, 270. And if we take a look at this game, how it sets up, 3s to 3.5s this week, still staying on the board. Bet 365 in New Jersey, -3, -120. Westgate out in Las Vegas, -3, -120. But the rest of the books and outlets seem to be at 3.5 here. Also, taking a look at the over-under, dropping here. Pinnacle offshore at 46, dropped to 45 this week. FanDuel here in New Jersey, 47.5. That's down to 44.5. And I got to say, I agree with that. Initial thought process on this game, New Orleans looked fantastic against the Green Bay Packers. Carolina Panthers did get a win at home. The final score wasn't really indicative because they did basically bust up the Jets over 3 quarters, then took their foot off the gas and said, let the rookie get a little bit of action here. But overall looking, I do think it tends toward a lower scoring game here. If I'm taking a look for the New Orleans Saints side, do I think the Saints can win? Absolutely, I do. I think they're the better overall team. But it seems to me, Kyle, a lot of Alvin Kamara and a lot of Christian McCaffrey going head-to-head on a fast-tracking Carolina should be a good one to watch here. I'm not in love with the 3.5, which means you have to go on the road in the division and possibly win by a touchdown. I know 4 points gets it there, but you see the reading I'm getting here, over a field goal to win it by. I think the Saints are the better football team here. I like the way they looked last week. And from weeks 1 to weeks 2, those overreactions, I'm trying to temper it here. I think Carolina's a decent football team. I do. I liked what I saw out of the Saints. The Saints will bring some defense here. I think that'll be good enough to take it.
Yeah, I like the Saints here as well. You can't take away a lot from that win over last week over the Jets or the Packers, quite frankly. Neither one of those teams showed up. And, I've gotten a chance to rewatch both those games. And probably the two teams who looked the worst, maybe outside of the Falcons week 1, were the Jets and the Packers, right? But the Saints still have a better defense. They have better use of their weapons because of their quarterback situation. I do like New Orleans. Now, the one concern, no Marshawn Lattimore in practice all week. He's very iffy, doubtful. He might already been ruled out. I don't even have him listed as the corner who's going to play this week. So the Saints secondary is getting thin. So there are some upsides.
Roby's in this week, though. So
yes.
They get a little guy, but they get somebody back, which kind of helpful at this time.
It's a little tough. Still, for me, I can't hang the bag. I'm not holding the bag with Sam Darnold as a favorite in the division over a Sean Payton coach team. It's just not going to happen for me. Liked them last week. They did get over the Jets, which I don't think was a shock to anyone. I would be surprised if Carolina wins this game. But I will say no Lattimore does sort of start to tell me, okay, maybe we get to the over here. If Sam Darnold can deal with the pressure the Saints are going to bring and get the ball out, he's certainly got weapons in DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson, and they're going to have nice advantages this week. When you look, Bradley Roby obviously didn't play last week. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Paulson Adebo is going to now be over there. It won't be Ken Crawley. Obviously, they're going to have inflated numbers this week because of the pathetic performance by the Packers here. But the Saints, better in the trenches. Obviously equal at running back, 2 all-world running backs. I obviously like Jameis Winston exponentially more than Sam Darnold. I do think the Saints get it done here. But again, it makes me a little bit nervous.
No, it certainly does. It should be a good game, though. It's one of those where it's not as exciting. So if you're looking at maybe two running backs to get off, we certainly obviously name those two guys. But outside of that, Jameis Winston went through for 150 some odd yards here, even though he did get 5 touchdowns. So that will be something also to keep an eye on, and how his maturation process in that offense takes place here. Back-to-back road games, technically, even though it was a quote-unquote home game there in Jacksonville, whereas then Carolina played home last week, Kyle, going to be home again this week. That is a nice little advantage that they might be able to pick up. Let's keep on going into maybe a game that we think might get out of hand here, and that's the Texans versus the Browns. We teed this game up here on the charts. Minus 11.5 opening up offshore. Now sits at 12.5, primarily 12.5 across. 47.5 in New Jersey it opened up, but now 48s across the board, even offshore at Pinnacle. So we're anticipating some points here. I was even looking at, the Houston Texans as a possible team total overplay. Not because they can win the football game, but I think they're going to need to score into the 20s to have a chance to compete in this and also get a cover. So I'd rather take the team total over that 16.5, which you can buy down at Caesars, as opposed to taking the 12 points overall. 31-17, you got blown out. Oh, yeah? Well, you still ended up covering a ticket if you got the right price in that instance here. But take a look overall, the totality. The Texans looked pretty good last week. I'm not going to lie. You still have to beat bad football teams. They destroyed a bad football team last week with the Jaguars. Same thing with the Browns. They let that game slip away. The Browns should have went into Kansas City. They dominated for close to 3 quarters and ended up with a loss. I think they come home. They get some style points on the board. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt should be able to get off in this game. I don't see any issues with the Cleveland Browns scoring, but as I said again, it's a 12-point number here, basically. So you're going to have to win by 2 touchdowns. Still hard to do that in the NFL. But the way I lean in this game would be a Texans team total, Kyle. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, and for me, you'll see my choice on the screen will come up as the Browns. I don't bet double-digit sides unless I can talk myself into the one getting the points. I think it's going to be tough for me. I don't take a lot from that Jacksonville game either. I actually rewatched this game twice. Jacksonville was so unprepared. I mean, they were abysmal. They had no game plan. They decided, okay, we're going to run the ball, 15 times and throw the ball 1,000 with a rookie quarterback. Running route combinations with wide receivers 3 yards apart. Absolutely pathetic. I think that running defense gets exposed this week. Houston's front 7 is not very good. They didn't really get exposed last week because of Urban Meyer's just lack of ability to coach in the NFL. I think Cleveland gets it done here, but I like the first half at 6.5. You're still seeing that Pinnacle offshore sitting at 6.5. Some outlets have it at 7. If you can get that 6.5, I think Cleveland's up by a touchdown in the first half. That's the way I would bet this game. Does Cleveland win this game? In my view, absolutely. Fans back in the dog pound for the first time in 2 years. That's going to be a raucous environment. Obviously, Tyrod Taylor is very familiar with the surroundings in Cleveland there. I like Cleveland. I like them a lot. I certainly think they win, but I'm not going to lay the 13 or 12.5 points. I'll do it in the first half and take the 6.5.
Yeah, it's funny with this too, because I have the list that we write up and also have the list as we go down here. I didn't even circle a play on this one. I actually just left it off my board by accident because I'm scrambling around going, I thought I had a pick or a side on this game. I actually don't have one listed, which is actually kind of funny here. But I do agree with you in that aspect. I mean, if we're taking team totals, I'm looking towards the Texans. But you're right. It's hard to take an NFL team, be favored, and say they have to win by 2 touchdowns. Do I think that's possible? Absolutely, I do. But also, you'd feel a little bit better if the Texans stunk last week and the line was 12.5. This is going to be an easy one. The Texans look good. Tyrod Taylor is a veteran quarterback in the NFL. He should be able to move the football. We're not talking about the greatest defense of all time here, Kyle, as we take a look at those Cleveland Browns. Let's keep on going down the list as we make our way through the NFL Week 2 action. An interesting one right here between the Bears and the Bengals. Now, let's set this game up here because we do have some decent line movement in this one. Pinnacle opened up offshore at -3. They were actually down to that 1 range, now sitting at 2, Kyle. 4.5 here at the FanDuel Sportsbook in New Jersey. And now we're seeing it like those 2.5s now across the board, 45.5. Cincinnati looked good last week. They beat an overhyped, I guess, Vikings team, bottled up Dalvin Cook, which is pretty amazing in this. They weren't all that great on third down, going 3rd and 14, talking about the Bengals here. There was not a lot to love from the Chicago Bears. But I have to tell you, with these cheap prices under 3, you're expecting the Bengals to go on the road and pick up a victory. I'm not sure they can do that. But one thing I think I am decently sure of is the Bengals should get into the 20s here and approach their team total.
Yeah, I actually love that Bengals team total the more I look at it. Both of these secondaries were 2 of the most beat-up secondaries in Week 1. Obviously, the Rams did whatever they wanted against Chicago. That secondary is bad for Chicago. Let's just call it what it is. Jalen Johnson, Marquis Christian gave over 1.2 fantasy points per route ran against in the slot. That is astronomical. It's massive. That means he was absolutely torched, and he was, by Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods and whoever else they put in the slot. And the Bengals, look, they did win the game. I thought they looked good against Dalvin Cook. Obviously, it's Kirk Cousins will have the inflated numbers, but he can never make it happen when it matters most. And that was the concern going in the entire time. But their secondary, too. We're talking about Chidobe Awuzie, Mike Hilton, and Eli Apple. They're the only trio of corners last week, which I think will surprise people, who gave up more than a third of a point per fantasy route ran against, and they all gave up a completion on 20% or more of the routes ran against them when they were targeted. So both secondaries are vulnerable here. I do think the Bengals are live dogs coming into Chicago. For you Bears backers, I get it. Andy Dalton, early window at home, revenge tour, the Red Rifle revenge tour. I get it. And this one scares me to pick a side. I do think the Bengals are live dogs. The one thing standing out to me, I think we get over 45 points here. I think both teams can score on the opposing defense. These are not great defenses. The Bears are not the monsters of the Midway. This defense is going to give up points all year long. Both teams should be able to score. Normally, I would fade Andy Dalton, but again, this is the early window at home. This is when Andy Dalton shines. This is what kept him in the league all those years on the East Coast in Cincinnati, is playing in that early window at home. He's actually fairly decent. He's not as bad as he is on primetime. Sides are really, really tough here. I do think the Bengals are live dogs, and right now I just kind of like the idea of taking them at that plus money on the money line if you want to do that. But for me, the best bet in this game is the over 45. I think both teams score.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in this game. The only thing I'm worried about here, taking a team total with Cincinnati, is that offensive line. They give up 5 sacks last week to the Minnesota Vikings. Khalil Mack's in town. Need to slow him down in this one. But that secondary, not as elite as it's been in the past couple of years for the Bears. And I do like the wide receiving core. Basically, what I'm saying is I like the skill positions altogether for the Cincinnati Bengals, Kyle. 3 good wide receivers, decent tight end, really good running game. I think it all makes sense because Joe Burrow looked good last week. What, he had 20 of 27, very efficient passing performance. I think he could do it again against the Bears. You do need a little bit of a running mate, so I'm expecting something out of Dalton. Hey, Andy Dalton, throw the football downfield, buddy. You know what you do with the pass? You see a guy deep 30 yards down the field, you let it fly. You don't take the Alex Smith route and dump everything down. That's how you score 14 points in an NFL game, and you come up with another loss. We'll see what happens in that game between the Bengals and the Bears. Raiders and the Steelers setting up some live movement in this game. Kyle Pinnacle opened up offshore at 5.5, now sits at 6. FanDuel opened up at 6, now sits at 5.5. So there's some 6.5s. Depending on where you're shopping at, you're getting anywhere basically from 6 to 6.5s. Is that number a little bit too high? Let's get into what we like and dislike about this game. Like the fact last week that the Raiders won the football game over the Ravens, but now going on the road and facing an elite defense. Kyle, when we took a look at the pathway to victory for the Raiders on Monday night, it was throwing 1,000,000 times. You throw 1,000,000 times against the Steelers, they will get home 500,000 times against you here. So you might have some turnovers, some interceptions in this game. But my one issue here is I do like the Steelers, and I picked the Steelers at the -6. I think they can get it done by a touchdown. I still think Big Ben is washed. I watched that game. Look, he was playing on the road, windy conditions in Buffalo. But he looked absolutely washed, like we learned nothing in the offseason. I lost 30 pounds. I got a new offensive coordinator. Ben, you look terrible as well. You had no points at the half. You had a couple nice balls where your wide receiver made jump ball plays with terrific catches. But outside of that, unimpressed with Ben. And I won't be surprised if I'm looking at the TV Sunday and screaming like, why did I take the Steelers in this game? Big Ben is washed out here, Kyle.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I rewatched that Buffalo, Pittsburgh game, and I saw your tweet. Yeah. You're absolutely right. Buffalo should have blown them out. That game should have been over in the first half. Yep. It really should have been. This one's tough, right? Because both teams are sort of being overvalued. The Steelers beat, an AFC contender, a Super Bowl contender in Buffalo. And of course, no one expected the Raiders to go out and beat Baltimore. So now you don't really get that, okay, I want to buy low on one of these teams because we're having to buy high on both of them. The Raiders team total at 20.5 looks kind of interesting to me. The way they threw the ball, they're going to have to do it again this week. But like you said, if Derek Carr throws the ball 50 times against the secondary, they're very opportunistic. They are going to get to the quarterback. Baltimore's defense looked a little sluggish. Of course, they were missing Marcus Peters after just a long week for Baltimore. I'm going to chalk a lot of that up to that. Leaning aside here, I do lean the Steelers. I think they are the better team. That Raiders defense is not very good. We didn't get to see all of the holes in their secondary last week because Lamar Jackson is so limited in what he can do as a passing quarterback. Look, and I know that pisses people off. Just go watch the game. I've watched every Lamar Jackson game twice. Yeah. The dude cannot beat you with his arm. Plain and simple, end of story. If he could, the Ravens would have beat the Raiders by 30 points. There's holes all over that Vegas secondary. I mean, Casey Hayward, Nate Hobbs, and Trayvon Mullen. I can't give you, it's hard for me to give you a list of three worst starting corners in the entire league. The question for the Steelers this week, can the offensive line hold up? Will Najee Harris continue to run the ball? They do. The Steelers get this done here. Not sold on the Raiders. I know they beat the Ravens, and I'm not necessarily sold on the Steelers either. Just that weak offensive line for Pittsburgh, how much advantage is Oakland going to be able to take advantage of it? I don't think much. I like the Steelers here.
Yeah, Joseph Gomez, short week for the Raiders, early game on Sunday, West Coast going East Coast. There are a lot of conditions going against the Raiders. Do I think they'll put up a performance? I do. But if I can get that crystal ball out, Kyle, and take a look and be like, hey, Big Ben looks good in this football game. They should roll and do whatever they want on offense. I just don't want to be screaming that Big Ben, throw the football downfield. Like, what is going on in their offense? Why is it 3-0 the Steelers in the second quarter? It shouldn't be that way. We'll see how Big Ben comes out. And beggars can't be choosers. Hey, Matthew Stafford's on the Steelers. You know what I mean? We can't do that because Big Ben is who we have to go and handicap. I would almost argue if you flipped quarterbacks and put Carr on the Steelers, he would light up that secondary for his own Raiders with those Steelers weapons. But you can't do that at this point. We'll see how it does turn out. Fascinating game here, Kyle. South Florida, the Buffalo Bills head on the road to take on the Miami Dolphins. If you dive the Dolphins.
Can you imagine if they had Andy Dalton? Oh, God.
Yeah, head back to the lottery, pick a new quarterback at that point. 48's across the board, 47.5 at some shops here. But now we're seeing that line movement. I knew this was going to happen. I talked about this all week, Kyle. Buffalo opens up 3.5. This is Monday morning, right? This is before we're even doing the show for the opening lines here on Sportsbook Review. And I'm saying, like, I got to find a way to take the Buffalo Bills. I love the way they played against the Steelers. They lost the game. You're going to get them undervalued because, they lost to the Steelers. But most people don't watch play-by-play and go back. They just see the final score or a couple highlights. They dominated the Steelers. But the more I looked at it and I went back and watched the Miami Dolphins game, I loved the way the Dolphins played. They played within themselves. Tua wasn't spectacular in that game. Did what he had to do. The running game worked. The wide receivers made big plays. The defense came up big when it mattered. And I loved the contributions that they got across the board from everybody. Now you're going to get Will Fuller back, even though he did miss practice today, but it wasn't due to injury. It was a personal issue. If he comes back on the field to open it up, that is going to be special here because I wasn't all that impressed. And sometimes, Kyle, I have to temper my expectations, right? They played the Steelers defense. That's one of the elite units in the National Football League. But the Dolphins aren't any slouches here. And I agree completely with that line movement. I actually picked Miami at the 3.5 to get the job done. Do they have to win the game? No. But 92 degrees, heat and humidity, Miami at home. And this is a guy that says I like the Bills. I have them winning the AFC. I took a future out. This is going to be a tough game for the Bills. I like the line movement towards the Miami Dolphins direction. I think they can hang around in this one.
Yeah, this one's tough again. Like, picking a side here is Russian roulette. It really is. Now, we saw Miami in a big game last year at the end of the year where they needed to beat Buffalo to get into the playoffs, and Buffalo wasn't playing for squat. Very similar rosters, mind you. And Buffalo slaughtered them. I mean, just stomped on them. So they do have the ability to match up with these defenses. I think both defenses are terrific. It's going to be tough for both quarterbacks to throw. Miami might have the best 1-2 combo in the league at corner in Xavier Howard and Byron Jones. Then you flip it over, Levi Wallace, Tre'Davious White, etc. For Buffalo, they're a good rushing defense. Did struggle a little bit last year in the red zone with the rushing defense. And hey, Pittsburgh was able to run in the second half against Buffalo. That's what Miami's going to have to do. For me, I think this game plays under. I do agree with that slight movement.
I do agree with that.
48 to 47.5.
Yep.
Two good defenses, two teams who I don't think score a lot of points. I will be really surprised if they get to 50 points. It's one of my favorite plays of the week is the under in the Miami-Buffalo game.
You know, it's funny you say that, Kyle, because we're going to give away our Pick Six contest in just a little bit here. My sixth play in there, Buffalo-Miami under 47.5. I completely agree with you that because the one thing that we take a look here, and yes, I do see it's on the Rams and the Colts up there with the Bills and the Dolphins. It happens. There's a lot of graphics that go in there. You guys get the gist of it here going against the Miami Dolphins and the Buffalo Bills. But I agree with you, Kyle, in that aspect. I do think it's going to be lower scoring here, not because there's not talent on the field. It just looks like that's the way you set up. That's the way the Dolphins probably want to play this. And if you're not getting the explosion plays downfield, which probably will be hard to come by, that's 3 downs to get a first down, 2 downs to get a first down, not eating up chunks of yards. It's funny because we're usually over bettors, but I do agree with you in that aspect that I think this game can stay under because we can keep it in the division and see what happens. But I'm looking forward to that game at 1 o'clock. Rams and the Colts. Oh, boy, Colts. You saw last week you got a heavyweight test in Seattle. You failed that one. You get a super heavyweight test this week with the Los Angeles Rams. Nobody wants to get in the Rams' way this week. And I have to tell you as well, because we go over some best bets. I got a best bet in this game I'll give out right now, and I'll certainly recap under best bets here. If you're going to ride with me this year, you better have Caesars Sportsbook as one of your outlets here, because I'm going to repeatedly be buying under numbers that are out there routinely across. And the reason why I pick Caesars as well, what are they in, 11 states? Just as many as any other sports book in the United States. So everybody has an option. If you have FanDuel, if you have DraftKings, guess what? You can get Caesars as well. I bought this number down. Now, it changed from yesterday, Kyle, where we had it at 24 at minus 150. Woke up this morning when I was making my plays official here and betting them. It's now up to 170, but you're off of that 24 number at 23.5. And I bet light through the first 2 weeks. I bet $170 to win $100 because next week is my official start to the football season. That's when we're really going to get down. But I'm not going to bypass this. And here's what I like about the Rams here also. You're taking a look at an offense that you wanted to see what was going to happen week 1, right? We wanted to see Matthew Stafford, electric. You wanted to see that defense, electric. They're going to be able to put pressure on Carson Wentz, who Wentz will make plays, but he'll also probably get sacked and there'll be fumbles in that game. Are we worried about weather conditions, Kyle? Absolutely not. It's in a dome. Hey, the Rams play in a dome at home. They're going to be used to this. This is an outdoor team going indoors. It's going to be a fast track. I think Indianapolis can score points in this game and approach their 20-point number, but I do think the Rams end up taking care of business in this one, but closer than the experts think here. But I do think the Rams are definitely getting to 24 points. That is my best bet I'm going to give out on the show today. They will be in the mid-20s. I wanted it off of that 24 number. Got 23.5. The same way last week. Why would you pay all that juice out here? Tell me out there in the chat box if you got 24.5 with the Minnesota Vikings when I paid it down to get the 24. Tell me how that feels to you at this point. Team totals, buy them off key numbers. You will be so much more profitable at the end of the regular season, Kyle. Your thoughts here between the Colts and the Rams?
Yeah, so this one's interesting, right? So that total, actually eked up just a little bit, 48 and a half. And
Yes.
it's lower because we know the Rams have a terrific defense. One thing to keep an eye on, Xavier Rhodes ended up being a scratch last week. He did not practice yesterday. I've not seen Thursday's practice report just yet.
Good point.
And keeping an eye on the Thursday practice reports are very, very important. And I think another thing that you said has nothing to do with the game. This is week 2. So it's easy to overreact and underreact.
Yes,
it's just as difficult as week 1. So you are an insane person if you're running out there throwing your mortgage on these. We don't know enough about these teams yet. Plain and simple. So it's important to manage your bankroll, not jump to these crazy conclusions.
Kyle, quickly here.
Yes.
I'm going to back you up on that point here. Just got the practice report information here. Braden Smith, Quentin Nelson, Darius Leonard, Kwity Paye, and Xavier Rhodes all out today. Go ahead.
That's a bad sign.
Ouch. Let's go, Rams. Let's go.
I'm liking the Rams. I'm liking the Rams minus 3.5 on the road. Matthew Stafford knows a thing or two about playing in domes, doesn't he? Just a thing or two. Might have played most of his career in a dome out there in Detroit. That offense looked absolutely spectacular. Do the Colts have a chance to slow him down and run the ball a little bit? If they can get away from Aaron Donald, they certainly have a talented young back in Jonathan Taylor. Now, if Quentin Nelson doesn't play, get the hell out of here. I mean, it's just going to be a long, long day for that offensive line.
I think we'll end up playing. The one that we're worried about, though, is the key one. Forget about the offensive line, defensive line. It's Xavier Rhodes. You saw last week what happens when your cornerbacks can't compete against big-time wide receivers. Guys run wild down the field. You don't think Matthew Stafford and McVay are going to be dialing up bombs left and right, Cooper Kupp in the slot? That is disastrous. And quite frankly, Kyle, that's the reason I took that. As soon as I saw the calf injury, might not practice again this week, and even if he does start, Kyle, worried about a tweak in your calf, could be out in the first quarter, disaster. That's the main reason why I zeroed in on this game, because I do think they'd score anyway. But now you're talking about a leaky secondary? Oh, yes.
Yeah, and to your point on the team total, I almost circled it and took it at 26.5 because I think they get to 27, 28 points here. I think they score on the Colts. I like the Rams here. I need to see more out of the Colts. That offense did not look good last week. Jack Doyle is going to be out. They have Zach Pascal, who caught a couple of touchdowns for him, has been limited in practice all week. Good Lord. I just don't know what we're going to – that Rams defense is legit. It's going to be legit all season long unless something happens to Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Darius Phillips and company. I think the Rams get it done here. I actually don't mind this side. It's a road underdog, or it's a road favorite. We don't love doing that in football all the time, especially with a team with the pedigree of the Colts. But I think this is going to be tough sledding for that Colts offense. I do like the Rams minus 3.5 here, and I like the Rams team total. I'm fine with taking it over 26.5 at -115. So obviously, I think they'll breeze past 23.5.
Yeah, and by the way, most of the props, or excuse me, the books that I look at during football season, you'll settle in the same thing, Kyle. We talk about BetMGM, right? Using team totals. By far the best book for team totals is Caesars. It's not even close. But I do like Bet365. I'll still be using FanDuel and whatnot. But if we're taking a look at where Donnie's home is going to be, it's probably going to be Caesars. So when you see these numbers pop up, hey, Donnie, do you still like 26.5 when you got 23.5? No, I don't. Get Caesars. Enjoy this. Ride it with me. We're going to win big cash here starting up in week 3. Last week, 2-0-1. Most people, if you bet the same plays I had, you would have went 2-1 because you weren't able to get that 24 or less with the Vikings, where most books had 24.5 or 25 with the Vikings. Well, I don't like the pay down stuff. Trust me, it's completely different than saying I'm going to buy from 3.5 to 2.5 or 7.5 to 6.5. We're talking about team totals on key numbers here where you're not worried about the score of the other football team. So if I were to tell you right now, I need 3 touchdowns and a field goal to get a win in this game, or if I told you I need 4 touchdown combination to get a win, wouldn't you like just to have the 3 touchdowns at this point? Absolutely. We're going to have a lot of fun on this one. But Rams, Colts, wrap it up, Kyle, with some final thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I just think I like the Rams here. And that practice report does not inspire a lot of confidence. Now, again, I would check this again on Friday because a lot of teams, they just hold them out or they keep them limited. Frank Reich's a very smart, cautious type of guy. But I will, Jay Ray, let's just address this guy. First of all, we both played football. There's a reason we are sitting here and you're crying in the chat box. We're important. You are not. Go cry somewhere else. Look, we love having fun with the chat box and we appreciate you being here. But my God, when they just keep whining, it's like,
how
does this happen?
Don't let them slow down the train, man. We're having a good time.
Yeah, you're a grown man. Like, grow up. Let's get it together in here. But no, I like the Rams in this spot. I like that team total. I don't even mind going up to the 26.5 and taking a little risk and getting a better number there. I certainly think they get over the 23.5. I think that's a great call. And I don't even mind them at 26.5 either. I think it's going to be tough for that Colts secondary to stop this passing attack of the Rams.
And by the way, look, again, I do need multiple books here. Like me and Kyle, we sponsored multiple ways. But Caesars, again, we always try to tell you about the boost and what's out there on all these sports books. There's a really cool one on Caesars, Kyle. You bet $100 worth of NFL bets in the month of September, this week, next week, whenever. They give you a credit for $150 to pick out any jersey you want at NFL.com. They got some great bonuses out there. Somebody brought that up in the chat box. That is true. So if you already bet last week and bet $100, you're going to get a jersey credit at the end of the month where you can pick out your very own Philadelphia Eagles jersey out there, people. So get ready for that action. Why did I say that, Kyle? Because the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles here in the city of brotherly love. This is going to be a good one. Now, I'm going a lot of contrarian plays in week 2 because we pick every game. But you guys know, both me and Kyle, it's very rare that you're going to DM me, you're going to ask me on Twitter, what's your favorite play this week? And I'm going to be like, the Bears minus the points. No, that's not the way we get down. I love team totals, but it's fun to pick every game. And I'm going to go contrarian with the Philadelphia Eagles, even though I think they're going to be in a world of trouble trying to cover one George Kittle over the middle. I think it's going to be like, I always like my tagline, destruction, terror, and mayhem. If George Kittle doesn't wind up with 9 catches for 115 yards and a score, I would be shocked. Did you see last week? Hey, Kyle Pitts, get the guy involved. You could do some damage against those Eagles linebackers. You know who's going to scheme a game plan, Kyle, to get that ready? Yes, Kyle Shanahan is going to do that. Now, you do lose the starting cornerback, a very good one. You do lose your explosive running back, a very good one. Seems like no surprise in the past. The San Francisco 49ers seem injured every year, and Kyle Shanahan still is able to dial up a great game plan. And if you're one of those people looking at the 49ers last week, Kyle, and go, they only won by 8. Boy, that was really close against Detroit. Watch the first 3 quarters. They smoked them out of the building and just relaxed in the 4th quarter. This is a good 49ers team coming to town, a true test for the Eagles. But what did we like, Kyle, about the Eagles last week? Very good offensive line, efficient offense. Jalen Hurts running and throwing at the right times. Not Lamar Jackson saying, oh, my God, I got to run every play. Break the pocket, look for the wide open receiver. It's not there. Let me pick up 10 yards and get out of bounds. It was a shocking effort for me as an Eagles fan to sit back and be like, Kyle, I'm not even sweating this game. They are blowing a team out of the water. Different opponent this week. But if we're looking at that in those numbers around that 3.5 range, let me just get the up-to-date lines here for the people out there so we can set the table appropriately here. Actually, take a look at this too. FanDuel 3, DraftKings 3. Bet365 3. So those numbers are now off of the 3.5. Are they listening? Are they believing in the Eagles, Kyle?
I'm nervous about this game. I mean, obviously, I need the Niners to win here. I don't want to have to order my Joe Flacco Eagles jersey and wear it on the show. That sounds like an awful idea. He's one of my least favorite quarterbacks. And, of course, this week, at least, after what the Eagles did last year to my Nick Mullins 49ers, I'm still a little upset. But look, this is tough for the Niners. The injuries happen, and I think that was a lot of what happened in the fourth quarter that you could sort of see on the sidelines. We sort of touched on this on Monday where they're like, oh, man, we're going down with injuries again. Now Dre Greenlaw is also hurt. We'll see if he's available to be there. In the past, even when this 49ers defense was really, really good and fully healthy, which they mostly are outside of Jason Verrett, which is a huge loss. But anyone who expected Jason Verrett to play 16 games knows nothing about Jason Verrett. The guy never finishes a season. I mean, it just never has in the history of time. So I don't think you see that sort of letdown, and I think that chip will be on their shoulder. But mobile quarterbacks give these guys a hard time, and it's going to tire them out. Jalen Hurts is certainly capable of getting away from a pass rush. Obviously, the 49ers started on the road last week. They have to play a second game on the road in the early window on the East Coast. There's a lot of things not pointing my 49ers direction. I know they stayed out in West Virginia. Kyle Shanahan always does that when they have double road trips. It's very common. But still, it makes me a little bit nervous here. I'd say talent-wise, I love the 49ers, and I love how their offense looked. They look great. Yes, they lost Raheem Mostert, but again, did anyone expect Raheem Mostert to finish a season? The guy is Charmin. He's so soft. Never finishes a season. Now they're going to be going with Eli Mitchell. Maybe Trey Sermon, the rookie, will get in there. I'm still inclined to say I think there's more talent and more defensive talent on the 49ers. Head coaching advantage is exponentially in the 49ers' favor. I do think a lot of people are buying high on the Eagles right now after dominating the Falcons on the road, buying low on the 49ers after that fourth quarter collapse. I'm going to go with my Niners here. I think they get it done on the road. I like that 3. I'll take it at 3. And if they win by 3, I'll take the push and be one of the happiest men on the planet and can't wait for Monday's show. No way I'm taking the Eagles in this spot. I'd have to retire and just never show my face again. 49ers are bust. Give me my Niners -3. One interesting look here. I think under 50. I'm not seeing over 50 points here. I think this is an under 50 game. The Niners defense. Yeah, the Niners defense, solid backup, and their offense is going to look, the Eagles have a good front seven as well. They're going to put pressure on Garoppolo. Could see a little bit more Trey Lance this week. I'll lean the under 50, and I like the 49ers.
See if Brandon Ayuk comes back, and I do see somebody in the chat box here. The official practice reports are Mosley did not practice today on Wednesday and also on Thursday, and we'll see if he comes back. I know he was he was in uniform, but he didn't practice today. But also makes me like a proud pop in the chat box here. Check out Jeremy De Leon. You know you made it when this is one of your statements as a gambler. As a Cowboys fan, it pained me to take Donnie's Eagles money line last week, but pain-free when cashing that ticket. Once you can get over that mental hurdle of betting against betting with your hated enemies and also fading your own football team, you will see the path to success when betting here. So good job by you. Hate the Eagles, and I'll always fade the Eagles because I don't like them. I'll fade the Cowboys. This comes from a diehard Dallas Cowboys team total backer for the past 3 years. I love the Cowboys. They made me more money than any team in the NFL. No hate in my heart for those Dallas Cowboys here. Maybe on the field, but hey.
I had to take the Seahawks last week. I had to take the damn Seahawks. I actually took the Packers. I lost, but you think I like taking the Packers? I hate the Packers. The passion.
Yep. All right. Let's keep going here. Broncos and the Jaguars. Now, as I've been pretty, shrewd on my picks here, going with each side, bounce back efforts, buying low. I don't know if I'm buying low this week on this one, Kyle. 283, 284, Denver and Jacksonville, Bridgewater versus Lawrence. -6s across the board, some 5.5s out here. Low total, which opened up at FanDuel at 47.5, now sits at 45, 45.5. Offshore, they opened up at 44, and they're sitting at 45 now. I don't want to overcomplicate this because I did like the fact that Jacksonville sort of came back in the game and had a pulse in the fourth quarter. But I think I'm getting that first three-quarter Jaguar team a lot more than the fourth-quarter Jaguar team that we saw in a blowout where they were just getting junk yards and Trevor Lawrence was learning how to be a quarterback in the NFL. If Teddy Bridgewater takes that defense down, and maybe Bradley Chubb even plays this week as that 1-2 punch with Von Miller, I don't like anything about that Jacksonville Jaguars defense. And Teddy Bridgewater should be steady Teddy in this game once again. 260 yards passing, maybe 30, 40 yards on the ground himself. Hand off to your running backs, let them eat. Even though Jerry Jeudy's going to be out for this game, it doesn't certainly help the cause. But there's enough weapons on this team. But primarily, I'm looking at this. The Denver defense should cause havoc to a young offensive quarterback, meaning Trevor Lawrence. Do I think he's going to make some plays? Sure, he's very talented. But I'm not going to overcomplicate this thing. I'm going to buy low in the Jacksonville Jaguars. -6 Broncos for me.
Yeah, Broncos all the way. I love the Broncos team total. I'm actually going to take it's a risky number. I don't love 24.5, but it's at -120. I could have bought it down, but look, we're talking about a Broncos offense that put up 27 points on a very good Giants defense last week. I'm not giving any credit for Jacksonville for throwing a couple touchdowns up against the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans defense is going to be awful this year. Mark my words. That is a under-talented dumpster fire of a defense. But Urban Meyer, the scheming, the coaching, the game plan, the play calls were absolutely terrible. And now you're going against a Broncos defense, which is 7,000 times better than anything Houston will ever present to you this week. They are not going to have the mismatches on the outside with Chark, Chenault, et cetera, that they had, and Marvin Jones that they had last week. I will say this, Marvin Jones is 3,700 on DraftKings. Very, very cheap. 9 targets last week. Might be a guy to keep an eye on. But this is even without Ronald Darby, who got hurt for Denver in that secondary. They still have Bryce Callahan, Surtain, Kyle Fuller. This is a really, really good defense that's going to wreak havoc. I think the Broncos cover here. I think they cover easily. It'll be on my pick 6 list. And one of my favorite bets, I'm going to take the Broncos over 24.5 at -120. I think they get to at least 28 points. They could get into the 30s this week. Urban Meyer, not ready for the NFL. This is going to be one of the few weeks where Denver has the coaching advantage with Vic Fangio, and that's against Urban Meyer in Jacksonville. That team's a dumpster fire. And if they continue to play Carlos Hyde and run these little halfback dives inside, they're going to get blown out by 40. Love the Broncos this week. Nothing about Jacksonville wants me to touch them in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, Jerry Jeudy will be out this week, Christopher Dunlap. He's going to be out for quite a while. You get the high ankle sprain. It's just like breaking your leg. He's probably going to miss at least 4 to 6 weeks, no doubt about that, trying to come back from that injury. And we've seen people come back from those injuries like Michael Thomas and just not the same for the rest of the year. So we hope he gets a rested recovery here because I would like to partake in taking some of these Denver Broncos team totals down the line. Patriots and the Jets here in the Meadowlands. I was very impressed by Mac Jones week 1 in his game against the Miami Dolphins. They deserved to win that football game, but they didn't. Buffalo Bills should have won their game. They didn't. It's all about wins and losses. There are no moral victories in the NFL. Now, going on the road, I think they do have a pretty good matchup here against the Jets. I'm not in love with the Jets, but the one thing they are going to get a little bit of help back here for the young quarterback with Jamison Crowder activated off the COVID-19 list. He should be available for this football game. That will help and maybe give a nice little 1-2 punch with Corey Davis on the outside. But having said that, that's as good as it gets for the Jets in this instance. The Jets were not, if I could put 32 teams played last week, and the Jacksonville wasn't the worst football team. It was the New York Jets. New York Jets were absolutely abysmal when the game mattered in the first 3 quarters. I don't want to hear that they came through the back door if you got 5.5 early or whatever it was. If you watch that football game, the Jets looked like they were the same old Jets under Adam Gase last year. More talented at quarterback, yes, but across to make plays at running back, offensive line, wide receiver, they just don't really have the goods here. I like Corey Davis. I like Jamison Crowder. I think Zach Wilson's going to be a good quarterback, but I think Bill Belichick puts rookie quarterbacks in a pretzel. If you remember, one Jets quarterback after playing them, Coach, I'm seeing ghosts out here. I don't know what Belichick's doing to me. Now, you might get that vibe this weekend. It is a high number, and also, I always preface this by saying, Kyle, you don't make a lot of money by betting rookie quarterbacks on the road. Mac Jones will be on the road, but since we pick every game, I can't look towards the Jets here. It's got to be the Patriots for me.
Yeah, and especially divisional road favorites by a touchdown, right? It gets really, really dicey. But you're right. To me, the 3 worst teams, let's get the Packers out of it. I feel like that was very fluky, and they were just lethargic and dead. So let's get them out of it. The Packers are not going to be one of the worst 3 teams in the league. But the Falcons, the Jets, and the Jaguars, to me, when I rewatched the tape, looked absolutely lost. And look, I love Robert Saleh. He was my defensive coordinator for the 49ers for years.
He'll be a good coach.
There's just no talent there. They just don't have enough talent. Corey Davis and Jamison Crowder isn't good enough. A washed-up Tevin Coleman and whatever the hell you're trying to throw out there at running back isn't good enough. They have nobody in that secondary. I mean, Brandon Echols, Michael Carter II, and Bryce Hall. Are you kidding me? Now, on the flip side of that, when I rewatched that Dolphins-Patriots game, I really liked what I saw out of Mac Jones and that offense, and I liked what the running game looked like. And we saw what Christian McCaffrey did to this defense last week. I like the Patriots here, and I like them a lot. And the best thing I like about it is that you're getting a nice number at 23.5 on their team total at -135. I think, look, they struggled. They had some a bad fumble turnovers, got to 16 against a really good Dolphins defense. The Dolphins defensive line by themselves would allow more points than the entire Jets defense on the field combined. The Patriots are going to score points in this game. I do think they cover. I do like them on the road, but more importantly, 23.5. I think they get there relatively easily, minus 135.
Yeah, it should be an interesting one to watch. Again, I'm not that high on the Jets at this point right now, but again, this is why we're talking week 1 to week 2. Teams are going to surprise. Hey, I thought Mac Jones was a good quarterback. Boy, he was really bad in the Meadowlands this weekend. That could happen here. Hey, look at Zach Wilson in his second game. He really got it together against the Patriots. Those type of things happen in the NFL, which is why next week we will have our eyes on the prize, because you'll know and get a good feel about where these football teams are headed in 2021. That's why it's fascinating for me to talk about this and have a lot of fun and go over these numbers. Vikings and the Cardinals, Kyle. We talked about it Monday when we had our opening line show. What was more likely to happen, right? The line would be circulating around 3 or would go higher to 4. We're now starting to see 4s out here. And do you want to overcompensate and say, hey, man, Arizona's going to win the Super Bowl now? Did you see what they did to the Titans on Sunday? Loved their performance defensively, offensively. Everything worked well. The Titans were a mess, and they made sure that they stayed a mess in that football game. The Vikings, do we think they're as bad as what they showed with Cincinnati? Look, you can't go on the road and not show up in the first quarter and basically the first half of that football game. And then technically, they should have won that football game. Knocked through a field goal at the end to force overtime. Got to stop. Dalvin Cook did not fumble. They said he fumbled. Bad call, but they end up losing that football game. Now you go into Arizona, and I know we talked multiple times this week, Kyle, in this one football game. It's not so much that I think Arizona is going to win. I picked them to win. I picked them to cover. But I'm looking at those sides to say, you need to have a running mate in this game. Arizona is going to run 100 miles an hour with that tiny quarterback over there, ripping it all over the football field to some dominant wide receivers and a great game plan. That means Minnesota is going to have to step up. You know what steps up, Kyle? How about Dalvin Cook? Bust through something. You can't have 60 yards in a game. Bust through this defense. 16 carries, 122 yards and a touchdown. You know what? Kirk Cousins, go deep a couple times. You're a stat compiler. You threw for over 300 yards last week. You should do it again this week. There is no conservative effort. Because let me tell you something here, Kyle. You go scoreless in the first quarter against Arizona this week, you're going to get blasted in this game. So we're looking at some of those numbers that we like, Kyle. Get the 22s, the 22.5s, the 23s, the 23.5s. Keep it under that 24 number, and Minnesota might be a decent play here.
Yeah, look, the problem for me is I can't take Kirk Cousins on the road against a winning team. I was willing to swallow it last week, and it let me down against a non-winning team. But Kirk Cousins' record against winning teams is well documented. He's one of the worst quarterbacks ever against a team with a 500 record or better. And I'm not even calling the Cardinals a winning team because they're 1-0. I mean, they were 8-8 last year and would have probably made the playoffs had it not been for that shoulder injury to Kyler Murray. Flip side, that Cardinals offense looked great. That Titans defense is terrible. The one disappointment is we thought the Vikings maybe had addressed some issues in the secondary, bringing in Breeland and Patrick Peterson. They looked slow to me. They didn't look lost. They looked like they knew where they were supposed to be, but they just couldn't keep up with the skill players of the Bengals. And you're not getting a break this week with Hopkins and Kirk and everyone else. I think the Cardinals score a lot of points, but on the flip side, I think the Vikings score as well. If I'm taking a side, I would take the Cardinals at home because I'll never take Kirk Cousins on the road against a winning team. It's just not going to happen. But for me, the play on this game is that total sitting at 51, and I think both teams can approach the 30s. I'll be surprised if the Cardinals don't get into the 30s the way that offense looked last week against, I mean, let's call it what it is, a bad Titans defense. Now, I don't think the Cardinals defense was as good as they looked last week. Obviously, you give up 5 sacks. That Titans offense to Chandler Jones, I don't know what the hell Arthur Smith is thinking. Maybe he's bringing over some of that great coaching from the Falcons. I mean, good Lord, how do you not at least chip the guy after you've given up 4 sacks in the first quarter? What the hell is going on here? The Titans looked really, really lethargic, but I do think the Vikings will find some holes in this defense. The Cardinals secondary is still suspect. They should still have some trouble stopping the run. I know adding J.J. Watt will help a little bit. But I think both teams score here. I think both teams' team total is live. When I think both team totals are live, we got Arizona at 27.5 and the Vikings at 28.5. Could I see this, or 23.5? Could I see a 28-24 game here and a push on the side and an over on the total? Absolutely. I like the over points here. I took the over 51 earlier in the week. We're seeing some 50.5s here. I think there's points scored here. This game's going to be a lot of fun. Going to see a lot of it on the Red Zone channel. Give me the over 51. If I'm picking a side, lean the Cardinals. Can't trust Kirk Cousins against winning teams.
Yeah, it seems like Minnesota's always in the mix because you like what they have, right? Cousins is a boomer bust guy, 2 really good wide receivers, an unbelievable running back, and then, you need some help from the other side, which Arizona should be able to provide. Let's keep it going here. The Falcons and the Buccaneers battle in the NFC South. I don't know how much of a battle it's going to be. The rested and ready world champions, fresh off of their opening night victory over the Dallas Cowboys, take on Atlanta, who looked absolutely horrendous versus the Philadelphia Eagles, but it is a division game. Let's not overreact here. And since we do pick every single game, I'm going to take Atlanta here with the points. If we take a look at obviously the numbers right now on the board, 12.5, some 13 starting to show up, 51.5 up to 52.5 for the totals. Do I think there will be points in this game? Yes. But I'm just taking it out of principle. In the division, week 2 here, I don't want to overreact. Matt Ryan will be better than what we saw for opening day. Arthur Smith better get a clue here and bring some of that Tennessee Titans play calling over here to the Falcons. Hopefully Calvin Ridley can have a decent week, get Kyle Pitts more involved, a steadier running game. But Matt Ryan overall needs to be better in this one. And looking at some of the team totals here, Kyle, you're getting some very depressed numbers. Early in the week I pulled up, you're going to get under 20 here at Caesars, 18.5, which means 20 points cashes this ticket in. And it's the same thing that goes, hey, look, if they're going to be around this spread, right, the 12.5, they can't have it at 14 points. And trust me, if they score 14 points, not covering the spread here, they got to approach being in the 20s to cover the spread. So why even sweat that out? Because if the Buccaneers run up 35 points, who cares? Just get the Atlanta Falcons to 21 points and cash in that team total ticket. That's the way I'm looking here.
Yeah, and look, Atlanta looked abysmal, and Matt Ryan, he may be completely wild. He's one of my least favorite quarterbacks to ever watch play football. There's just nothing fun about watching him play. And I've had plenty of these Atlanta, Tampa Bay games, even when Jameis Winston was there, and they're throwing the ball all over the place. And you're like, God, Tampa Bay secondary stinks. We saw it last week on Thursday Night Football. I talked about it ad nauseum. Nobody wanted to listen to me, thought I was crazy. No, the Tampa Bay secondary stinks. So when they can't pressure the quarterback, when they couldn't get to Dak Prescott, everybody is wide open because they can't cover anyone. And it's the same for the Falcons. Their secondary stinks. They can't cover anyone. But I've covered enough of these Falcons Buccaneer games that end up being 21-16, and you took the over 53, and you're super excited about it. And for some reason, it just ends up being a weird type of game. I wouldn't touch this game with a 10-foot pole. I do not like double-digit spreads. The one play I would possibly look at is taking the Bucs in the first half at -6.5. That makes a lot of sense. Tampa Bay is going to be able to score at will. The question is, are we just way too low on Atlanta? Probably. Are there going to be holes in that secondary for the Bucs? Yes. Can the offensive line hold up and give Matt Ryan time? They better, because Matt Ryan is slower than a troll. So for me, it's Bucs first half. Other than that, I wouldn't touch this game with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah, and the same way with me. But I do like the fact that I think you're going to get a depressed number on Atlanta. Keep in mind, I do have one best bet and already gave it out there on the Rams. I'm going to add on, and I know a lot of people ask this. Look, I don't have a service anymore that I charge for picks, and I give them out the minute. We do content here, and it's completely free. And I understand why people contact me on, hey, Tuesday, hey, Donnie, where are you going? You have to watch the show. The reason why they pay us to do the show is we give out good information so you will watch the show. If I just went on Twitter on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday and put all my plays out, yeah, we'd come in here and have some fun. But the whole point is for you guys to come in, check it out, and be like, I wonder what Donnie and Kyle are on. Let's share some information in the chat box. That's why I do it. But after the Thursday show, when I start adding on, follow me and Kyle on Twitter. We'll be giving out plays when we see some of these line changes here. Why? Because we'll be back on Sunday to recap each and everything we have. If we want to add on some plays, that's fine. But very rarely on Twitter will I be giving out team totals during the week. Why? Because we want you to watch the Thursday football show. So we'll see how that changes during the regular season. Just give you an update, because I know some people say, Donnie, you used to give out plays on Mondays and Tuesdays. I understand that. You can get the tips here and the nods with, some tweets that I send out that are very cryptic that it's coming. And certainly, people reach out to me all the time on DM. You guys know me. I'm here for the people, as I like to say. Ask me if I have something or what I'm looking towards. I'll certainly point you in the right direction here. But the Thursday show, it's where we have fun, break it down, and give out all our picks. Let's keep moving down the list. Titans and the Seahawks. Very intrigued by this game, Kyle. Seahawks weather, right? 60 degrees. Slight rain on Sunday. The Tennessee Titans were horrible. They're going to run over. Not so fast, people. Buy low here. I loved what I saw out of the Seattle Seahawks last week. Yes, I did. I couldn't stand what I saw out of the Tennessee Titans. I'm one to believe that the Titans are a much better offense than what they showed last week. But you know who's going to return serve? Russell Wilson. I think we get some points in this football game as long as the weather isn't that bad. There's no reason to believe, Kyle, that offensive line can get going and not give up 5 sacks to one player, that Julio Jones will show up, that he's healthy now. A.J. Brown will show up. You'll get that ground game going with King Henry in the backfield and some play action passing with Ryan Tannehill. Give me some points here with the Titans. I think they keep it close in this game, and I think they can go over their total. And quite frankly, I like the total for the game as well, Kyle.
Yeah, I completely agree. And look, Tennessee was just lethargic and looked bad last week against the defense they should have scored on. And I know the Seahawks, I think I wrote the Seahawks down on that list, picking the sides here. Like that's just taking
I
the
got
home
Titans.
number.
Yeah.
But I kind of like the Titans to cover here. I do not like taking Russell Wilson more than 3 points. We know the
It's
Seahawks,
up
even
to
if they,
six, Kyle. Like
yes,
six,
it's
six
up
and a
to
half
six.
now.
I can't lay
Yes.
6 points with the Seahawks. I can't do it. They
Yeah.
just look, even 2 years ago when the Bengals went 1-15 and led them to draft Joe Burrow, the Seahawks beat the Bengals by what was it, 1 or 2 points? They beat everybody by 3 points. If this was at 2.5 at home or three in Seattle, yes, I'd be all over that. But you cannot trust Russell Wilson to cover touchdown spreads. It's just not something that he does. So, do I think the Seahawks win this game? Probably. Seattle should be absolutely spectacular. I mean, that crowd is going to be louder than it's ever been, right? It's their first crowd
Yeah.
in 2 years. But a team like the Titans, as bad as that defense looked, I'm going to lay a touchdown with Russell Wilson in Seattle. I don't think I could do that. I think I'm starting to shift here and go to the Titans and taking those points. The Seahawks are just not a blowout type of team. They're not a win by a lot type of team. It's always a close game, and the Titans certainly have the talent on offense, at least, to keep it close here. It should be a lot of points in this game. I'd lean the over. That 54, it's a big number. I'm probably not touching it, but I'll be surprised if it doesn't go over here. I think both teams score here, but the Titans should be able to keep it within a touchdown.
Yeah, Caesars, their number on the total away points, which obviously is the Titans, is 23.5 minus 115. If you slide that down, which they allow you to do, you can get the 22 at minus 150, which 2 days ago, Kyle, this was 22 at minus 160. We'll see what ends up, but that's the way I'm looking forward. Like, I really think I'm probably going to wind up with a play on the Titans here. Just waiting to settle in to see how that weather kicks in and maybe get some practice reports out of there. But I am feeling the Titans. I can't imagine the Titans are as bad as they showed in week one. I think points will be available in this one. Cowboys and the Chargers. There's not a lot of good here talking about the Cowboys other than they have a mini bye week after almost beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're going to be down Michael Gallup on the wide receiver end of it, and also DeMarcus Lawrence, your best overall football player on defense. He's going to be out as well. Zach Martin is going to come back, which is going to help that offensive line against a pretty sturdy Chargers defense. But the question isn't about, what's going to take place with the Chargers offense, with the Dallas Cowboys offense. They're going to score points. They're a good offense. It's what the hell is going to go on with the Cowboys defense here? When you saw last week against a formidable defense, the Chargers, what were they, 13 of 17, I believe, or 14 of 19 on third downs? Where did they get a hold of this team, Kyle?
Points, and more points. I'll keep this brief. Basically every Cowboys game I see all year long, I'm going to take the over. Justin Herbert should torch this team. I do think they win the game at home, but do I love it enough to bet it? No. Crazier things have happened. This is in L.A., There's going to be a ton of Cowboys fans in this stadium. Let me make one thing clear. I've been to plenty of Chargers home games, including when they moved to LA in that little soccer stadium. They're usually the road team in their own stadium. Now you get, what might be the most popular team in the country coming to LA. It's going to be 50-50 Cowboys fan, Chargers fan. So I don't place a lot of weight on that home field advantage in this game. One thing I do know, the Cowboys offense is going to score. The Chargers offense is going to score. Look, the Chargers team total over 27.5 to get 4 touchdowns is minus 170. That tells you everything you need to know. There's going to be a ton of points in this game. I think 55.5 is a crazy number to bet the over on. But I would lean the over here. I don't give a damn who wins this game because for me, it's real 50-50. Too tough to tell who wins. Chargers have a slightly better defense, but I like points in this game. Tons of points. Take the over.
Shiloh Israel says, the Titans burnt me so bad last week like my high school girlfriend did. I like Seattle. Hey, man, look, let bygones be bygones. Don't be rage betting out here in the streets, man. Don't be rage betting in the streets out here because you hate one football team. Chiefs and the Ravens. Let's talk about rage betting in this one. Let's talk about thinking about rage betting in Kansas City. But then again, every single person in the world right now is betting the Kansas City Chiefs. Still sitting at that 3.5 number across the board. 54.5 as a total at most outlets here. Not a lot of good things going for the Ravens. They didn't play well, and they got injured. And, Patrick Mahomes is on deck. 2018, the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Ravens. 2019, the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Ravens. 2020, you guessed it. The Kansas City Chiefs beat the Ravens. You know what? It's 2021, Kyle. The Kansas City Chiefs will beat the Ravens.
Yeah, I've been trying. So, look, like all week, I've been trying to be the cool guy. I think I even wrote it down. I'm going to take the Ravens. They're too good at home.
The circled game.
You got to take the points here. They're too much. They're too good of a team. They're too good of a team at home. to not take the points when you're getting them. I do think this could be a close game, but man, as I rewatch that game, that secondary looked lost without Marcus Peters. Anthony Averett was just not a good replacement.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to stop this passing game of the Chiefs, and that's starting to concern me. Look, I get it. You get a home underdog with the pedigree of Baltimore coming off a loss to Oakland. People are just completely fading Baltimore. It makes a lot of sense to take those points and take that home team. I've been on that all week, but now I am after I just had a chance to rewatch. That was one of the last games. Actually, it was the last game that I watched, the Raiders-Ravens game. And the more I watch it and the more I saw that secondary look lost, Kansas City is going to score points here. Look, to stay honorable to what I wrote down on the sheet, I'll say the Ravens and the points, but that makes me really, really, really nervous. I'd feel a lot more comfortable being on the Chiefs side. I think they beat them.
Yeah, Ronnie Stanley out this week too, left tackle. So
bad.
The good is not going good here for the Ravens at this time, and it's a bad time. Like, you want Detroit to come to town. Like, all right, let's get things straight and maybe pick up a victory, or the Jacksonville Jaguars. You don't want the Kansas City Chiefs coming to town, who got outplayed last week and still ended up beating Cleveland, which is outrageous. But if you are looking at Lamar Jackson props, which I picked up some dollars on Monday night, it's going to be all on Lamar. He's going to have to run 12 times for 125 yards to keep them in this game. So keep an eye on that one here. All right, that is the card here. So let's go over some plays and sort of recap here of what we like this week. I will guarantee people out there have 3 plays this week as my best bets. But I can't come in here on Thursday and have all of my plays every single week, because there's some little guidelines you want to follow, practice reports that come in. Because keep in mind, a lot of stuff goes into the show on Wednesday when we do the show for Thursday. So picking your best bets on a Wednesday night for a Sunday football game, sometimes you lose the advantages of what you like. But I did like one game, as I said, fired on, obviously, the Rams to get their team total this week. Now, I will have 2 more games, so follow me on Twitter, but also keep in mind, we do the show on Sunday afternoon, 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. All our plays will be recapped there, right up to the bell. Very important you do that. But I'm going to go ahead and still say I have the one play today. It's already locked and loaded on the Caesar Sportsbook. Yes, it is expensive here, but I'm going light here. $170 to win $100 that I bet on the Rams team total to get that. And, of course, just to make sure I have that correct here, 23.5 at minus 170. It hasn't moved. It's up there right now. You can still get it. It's available. So we're going to cash that ticket in, Kyle. Best bets, what do you got here?
I'm going to take the Patriots over 23.5. I just think they score at will against the Jets, and I like what I saw out of Mac Jones and Damian Harris in week 1. I liked, and we know we're going to get the right scheme with the Patriots. This is not the Jaguars. I also like the Broncos team total over 24.5. I know that's a bad number, not a number we love, but I think they get to 28 against a bad and hapless Jacksonville team. And one more that I'm really, really liking early in the week, and the line's starting to move the other way, so I wanted to get in on it now, is the under 47.5 or 48, wherever you're at, in the Miami-Buffalo game.
And by the way, Cliff Yang says they announced who's out for the Saints with COVID. Looks like it's much more coaches than it is players at this time. So I'm pretty sure they'll put them on a list. But I don't think it's too devastating. Otherwise, you would have got looks at practice saying, hey, these guys aren't practicing. These guys are out. A lot of these things, obviously, that we're taking a look at here, we'll find out later in the week here, Friday, Saturday, and, of course, on those inactive reports here on Sunday. Pick 6 contest picks, which, yes, I beat Kyle last week. The 6 I have in play. And again, these are sides. My goal this year, and I say it every year, I didn't want to go 500 here on sides. Tennessee plus 6, Kansas City minus 3.5, Pittsburgh minus 6, Chicago minus 1, New Orleans minus 3, and the under, Buffalo, Miami, 47.5. They're my pick 6 plays here in the contest, Kyle. What do you have in your contest for this week?
I got the Saints minus 3 as well. I also have the under in Buffalo versus Miami, under 47.5. I have Denver minus 6, New England minus 6, the Rams minus 3.5. That was all 6, right? And the Rams minus 3.5. I didn't end that very well. That was a non-pro move. There you go.
All right, talk about a non-pro move here. As always, on Thursday, we like to end the week here of the shows until we get to Sunday with Kelsey Kramer and her pick 6 plays to check in, see how she's doing, going up against it. Kelsey Kramer, welcome into the NFL show.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
We cannot hear you still.
All right, she says, all right.
There we go.
No.
Now we're in
Are we in?
mid-season form.
Are we in?
We are in mid-season form.
Yes,
There we go.
we're here. Week 2. I didn't even click the button.
I love it. I knew it. I called it before the show, too. The headphones equals she will be muted to start the show.
He did cut. As soon as we threw it over, Kyle, and the lips were moving and nothing was coming out, we're like, yeah, we won. We finally did it. Yep.
I went off on Donnie, and now I'm just like, never mind.
That's it. Look, the computer systems know that now that I am verified, you go off on me, the mics get cut. Like, I don't even do it. They just get cut immediately there. It's out
He's
there.
Such a spoiled brat now. Oh, it's the worst. It's the worst having him verified. God, it's the worst.
There will be no slander. Tonight, we got football in D.C., Kelsey, as we take a look here at the Washington football team and the New York Giants heading down. One would think it's a lower scoring tilt in this one. New quarterback per se with Heineke going to be under center for the Washington football team. Daniel Jones for the Giants. Is it too many points here? Can the Giants win this football game on the road? Or are we going to see the football team take care of business at FedEx?
The football team takes care of business at FedEx, and I hope they never change the name because last year I hate it, but now I'm loving it. There's nothing else that can replace it. But as far as Washington goes, if it was at MetLife, I would probably take the Giants only because I would bet on the injuries that would happen to Washington at MetLife. But here, the Giants, just terrible play calling last week, and to turn that around this weekend is just not going to happen for them. And the score would have been a lot worse if it wasn't for that garbage time touchdown. I like Washington here. I like their defense. They're going to keep Daniel Jones on his toes.
There you go. By the way, nice. Jeremy DeLeon, nice little, K squared. How about that, Kyle?
K squared. I like that name, K squared.
Okay.
And then I was like, wait, is he talking about me and Kelsey? But then I'm like, no, obviously it's just her name because I'm a moron. But speaking of moron, have we made fun of Joe Judge enough for throwing that challenge flag under 2 minutes? Like, that guy is such an idiot as a head coach. I know some people get mad when I make fun of the head coaches, but dude, you lose a timeout. Like, you don't even know the rules of football. Oh, Joe Judge is a moron. And obviously, I do not want a tramp stamp of Derek Carr, so I need Washington to win this game.
Washington football. I think we're all loaded up on the football team tonight here, so let's keep it moving here. The Panthers taking on the New Orleans Saints this weekend in Carolina. Hey, nice dub for the Carolina Panthers this past weekend over the New York Jets. Now they step up in competition versus the 1-0 New Orleans Saints with Jameis Winston coming to town. A lot more of the same for the Saints, playing good defense. Jameis Winston under control with 5 touchdown passes and no interceptions. What are we looking at this weekend here in Carolina?
All right, well, I'm going against both of y'all. I like Carolina Panthers at home. Saints clearly don't need Drew Brees, and obviously the Packers don't need Aaron Rodgers. But we're going to really see if the Saints are a good team this week. I like Christian McCaffrey. My dog's named after him, unfortunately. I also like Carolina's young defense and offensive line. So I'm going to need to see more from the Saints to trust them, especially on the road. I like Carolina here.
Kyle, she needs to see more from the Saints after who won by 35 last week. What do you think?
I see the Carolina.
Okay, well, I need to see more from the Packers too.
I can't do it. Look, Sam Darnold looks like a Lego policeman. I will say it till the end of time. I can't back that guy as a favorite any day of the week. Let's go. I need the Saints to win too. I need to go 6-0 this week. I can't have Donnie.
I want to see some interceptions from Jameis Winston. So
I want to see interceptions from Sam Darnold. That's what I need. Tons of them. Lots of them.
That's your guy right there. How about a big spread here? We're going to here. Houston and Cleveland. 13s, 12.5s now currently on the board. Maybe some high-scoring numbers. Do we not believe in Houston, or is Cleveland just going to roll that helmet out there and say, Nick Chubb, 16 carries, $155. Kareem Hunt, 15 carries, $125. Baker Mayfield plays good. Or are we going to see those Houston Texans surprise once again here, Kelsey?
I make these plays on Tuesday and I wake up on Thursday and I'm like, why did I do this? But then I realize this is why I did this. I think the Browns are a true Super Bowl contender. We saw that last weekend, but they didn't finish the game. I think this weekend they're going to finish the game. And Houston was able to, stop a rookie team and a rookie coach, but now they're up against this future Super Bowl contenders, and they're going to have to stop Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. So I like the Browns here, -12.5. If it goes any higher than that, I'm not going to take them, but a 2-touchdown game or a little less than that will work.
All right, we'll see if they get a blowout on the horizon. Look, it is feasible here. It certainly is. I did like the way Houston played this week with Tyrod Taylor, so I think they can keep it closer than the experts predict, as we like to say. Now, Kyle's probably going to like this one. And maybe I'm not going to like this one here.
Ooh,
This game
here
in
we
the city of
go.
brotherly love this weekend between the
Don't
Philadelphia
hurt me.
Eagles and the San Francisco 49ers. Now, I like to
Nervous.
say this is a preview of the NFC Championship game in the same building. So
Okay.
we'll see how that one plays out. Now, do the Philadelphia Eagles get the nod from Kelsey Kramer, or should we say K squared this week? Or are we going with the Niners? And be careful, because somebody here has the ability to on off that mute button.
With your check mark, whatever.
Oh.
Okay, so
It's the worst, right?
I said
It's
last
just the
week-
worst.
I said
So-
last week I would only take the Eagles once, but I do like the Eagles. Still, they're going to have to prove me wrong again, just like the who else did I say? The Saints. But I like 49ers here. I like Kyle Shanahan. I think he's a genius. And you know what? I like Hasty and I like Eli Mitchell's as the backup running backs. They looked promising. They each scored. And the Eagles crushed a terrible, terrible, terrible Falcons team. I cover the Atlanta Falcons for Heavy.com. So I know way too much about how terrible they are. And I like 49ers.
I didn't even listen to the last 30 to 45 seconds of that. So I think she said the Eagles in a rout. I want to say, Kyle, back me up here.
And she had a glow about it, saying that my 49ers are going to win. It was the most
Glow up?
impressive moment of her professional career. And we got to say hi to Kenny in the chat box. And of course, I'm drinking beer, Kenny. I would never let you down. So everything
man, that's a bad
is
influence
right.
on her
You
daughter.
know, I've had a long week, and now I'm just ready to sit back and chill as my 49ers kick Donnie's Eagles' ass. Kelsey's got my back this week. Kenny's got my back this week. Ready to rock and roll.
All right, there you go. Let's keep it moving down here. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, another big-time spread here going up against maybe the inferior Atlanta Falcons. I know, Kelsey, you went with a big favorite already. Are we returning to a big favorite in this football game with Tom Terrific? Or are you going to back those hometown Atlanta Falcons?
I don't know why I'm doing this, but I am taking the big spread again with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here. Falcons just have way too many question marks, and for us to turn that around in week 2 is going to be crazy. Maybe in week 4 we can do it if we add some more free agents, but right now they're trusting Jalen Mayfield at left guard, the rookie who allowed 2 of the 3 sacks on Matt Ryan last week. I just don't think he's prepared, and it takes rookies a while to adjust to the next level. And the Bucs, they have question marks, but again, it's definitely fewer than the Atlanta Falcons right now. And I feel bad for every Atlanta Falcons fan out there.
Now, will you be wearing a Falcons jersey this weekend? It's a question, though. I mean, we're just going to go just not root against them and trash the jerseys?
All my jerseys are still in Arizona. So, I'll be wearing, who knows what I'll be wearing, probably something Notre Dame.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my goodness. Here.
Oh, boy.
Kyle would like to tell stories about that. Like, where's it at in Notre Dame? Where's it at in Arizona? Like, where are these jerseys located? Can we get people to get them?
Can Zane Gonzalez ship you back
That's
your
what
jerseys?
I'm saying. Yeah.
Maybe. I'll put a call and text. He actually isn't there anymore, so.
Yeah, I know he's not there, but he still has to have a house there because everyone cut him, right? Didn't he get cut by the Lions in training camp and they went in with something like that? You ruined his career.
Zane.
You ruined Zane Gonzalez's career. Congratulations.
Yep. And then she moved away. So, I mean,
they make way too
tough
much.
one. Yeah. By the way, here, I'm seeing the next pick and the next game up here. This is a good one. And you talk about contrarian plays here. I think we got one out of K squared right now as we take a look at the Chargers and the Dallas Cowboys. Look, Dallas Cowboys showed up, and they technically should have won that football game late versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but they didn't. And over their bye week, they got injured, which is incredible. So now they're going to show up against the Chargers, who won against the Washington football team this past weekend. Justin Herbert, good quarterback. We don't know who's going to stop anybody on that Dallas side. But as I say that, which way are we actually leaning in this game, Kelsey?
All right, I like the Dallas Cowboys here, up against a Chargers defense, which is definitely a lesser than the Bucs. So Dak should be able to find those holes to throw and make some big plays throwing and on the ground with Zeke. So I like the over, and I like the Cowboys.
Yeah, look at that, Cliff Yang. Zane was a choker and cost us games here, Kyle. So there we go.
You
Many
know who
people
to blame.
not liking him. Yeah.
Go follow her on Twitter at KCrames, and you let her know how much
She was
Zane
at the
Gonzalez
games
ruined
last
your
year.
life.
Yeah,
I mean,
she was there.
It's hard to kick with a broken heart. That's the fact of the matter. A broken heart, like, trust me, it'll ruin your golf game and it'll ruin your kicking game. So it's all Kelsey's
And it'll
fault.
ruin you picking games as well. Can't even
That's
focus
right.
on anything.
But it won't
But
get
how
me
about
kicked
this?
off a plane, so.
Look at that.
That's
Yep,
true.
exactly.
That's true. I deserve that. Ouch.
The FAA still looking for Kyle. When he puts it on mute and you hear the planes outside, that's the SWAT team coming for Kyle from the FAA there. So don't let it be twisted here. But this is another Thursday edition of the SportsbookReview.com NFL show. Monday opening lines, Thursday key show, NFL show, Sunday closing lines. So make sure you join us here on the network. And again, 88,900 people have hit that subscribe button. You guys are awesome out in that chat box. We'll see you Sunday noon for kickoff, a 1-hour show. We will add on to our best bets and bankers here. So make sure you follow all three of us here on Twitter as we are going to get the party started for Sunday this week. Thanks again for watching the show here on a Thursday. I'm Donnie Seymour along with Kelsey Kramer and Kyle Purviance. We're the SportsbookReview.com NFL team. And as always, good luck on those wagers.